Since its debut in 1987, The Bold and the Beautiful has been a beloved American soap opera that has enthralled viewers with its deep character journeys and dramatic plot twists. The rocky romance between Steffy Forrester, the tough and independent fashion mogul, and Dr. John Finn Finnegan, the sympathetic yet strong-willed doctor who swept her off her feet, is one of the most beloved storylines related to the show. They have had both highs and lows throughout the course of their love story, but it appears that a new chapter is about to begin, one that has the potential to put both their lives and their love in jeopardy. We go deep into the chaos that surrounds Steffy and Finn in this most recent adventure, which is riddled with spoilers throughout. There has never been a time when the stakes have been higher than they are now, with opponents hiding in the shadows, ancient grudges coming back to the surface, and the tables unexpectedly turning against Steffy. Steffy is left battling for more than just her family. She is fighting for her own existence. Dr. Finn, a man who is often in control, finds himself in a circumstance that puts him in severe danger. Fasten your seatbelts as we unravel this narrative that is both dramatic and emotional, as well as action-packed. The Forrester estate appeared to be a place where life was practically ideal. As the warm California sun shed a golden glow over their lives, Steffy and Finn were finally settling into a rhythm with their family. Their children were playing joyfully in the large backyard as the sun was shining brightly. At least for the time being, the mayhem and drama that had previously been intertwined with their love story had subsided. Steffy, the matriarch of the Forrester family, had lately extended her responsibilities at Forrester Creations. Steffy was the head of the company. Her fashion empire was booming, and it appeared that she had achieved a sense of equilibrium in her personal life. While this was going on, Finn was a rock of strength and stability, and he continued to save lives as a prominent physician at University Hospital through his work there. As the proverb goes, when things are too perfect, disaster is frequently just around the corner. This is true even when things are going perfectly. Recently, Finn, who was known for his meticulousness as a physician, had taken on a case that was beginning to devour him. His life had been altered by the arrival of a patient who was mysterious, secretive, and obviously distressed. This patient had connections to a terrible past. In the beginning, Finn did not give it much thought because he had previously worked with patients who were challenging. As the complexity of this case increased, the risks that were involved also increased. What Finn did not realize was that his choice to cure this guy would soon put him and everyone he cared about in the line of fire of a potentially lethal danger. It began in a nonchalant manner, with Finn experiencing unusual phone calls late at night, a sense of being watched, and discussions that were whispered, all of which caused him to fear the safety of his family. Because Steffy is such an insightful lady, she was able to recognize the change in Finn's behavior. A quiet strain was hanging over their interactions, and he was coming home later than normal. His smiles were fewer, and he was getting home later than usual. "Finn, are you okay?" During one of the evenings, Steffy inquired while they were sitting on the couch and watched their children play from a distance. The worry was audible, despite the fact that her voice was so faint. "My health is good, Steffy." To which Finn responded, "It's just a tough case," despite the fact that his tone was not at all convincing. Steffy was not content with the response that was given. She could see the lines of stress that were engraved into Finn's face, which was normally peaceful. She was also able to sense the anxiety that emanated from him. There was a problem, a very serious problem. Steffy started her own inquiry. She was determined to learn more about the situation. In an effort to obtain as much information as possible on the patient who appeared to be drawing her husband deeper into a perilous web, she made inquiries in a covert manner across the medical establishment. However, the information that Steffy discovered was even more terrible than she had anticipated. There were connections between the patient that Finn was treating and a notorious criminal organization, which is a gang that is famed for its cruel methods and spiteful attitude. This was not merely a doctor-patient situation. Rather, it was a question of life and death. Steffy had no idea that Finn had already been alerted about the situation. The individual who was his patient was a high-ranking member of the criminal underground. His name was Marcus Val. Marcus sought Finn's assistance in order to recover from injuries he sustained during a violent encounter with rival crooks. However, by doing so, he lured Finn into a dicey game of allegiance and treachery, which was extremely deadly. This was something that Marcus had said to Finn during one of their early meetings. "You have no idea what you're getting into, Doctor," Marcus had said. "The individuals that are after me will not rest until they have accomplished their goal. As soon as they discover that you are assisting me, they will go after you, your wife, your children, and everyone else that you care about." This was something that Finn had previously written off as the ramblings of a guy who was paranoid. Nevertheless, as the unusual happenings continued to accumulate, he started to worry that Marcus wasn't exaggerating, because he did not want to cause Steffy any concern. Finn refrained from telling her the truth whenever he entertained the idea of doing so. He was under the impression that he could deal with it until he realized that he couldn't. During the late hours of one night, Steffy received a call from an unknown number while Finn was working late at the hospital. It was a terrifying voice that came from the other end. "Tell your husband to back off, or he'll regret it." Steffy was unable to leave a response before the connection went dead. At the same time as she was staring at the phone in her hand, her mind was racing with questions. Her heart was racing. For whom was this? What exactly was it that Finn had gotten himself into? The next morning, Steffy questioned Finn about the event. Despite the fact that her voice was quivering with both fear and rage, she asked, "Who called me last night?" Although his face was pale, Finn gazed at her. It had been his hope to protect Steffy from this threat, but it was now abundantly evident that he was unable to do so. In the beginning, Finn started by saying, "Steffy, I didn't want you to get involved." But Steffy interrupted him. "Involved with what exactly? I am Finn, and here is our family. If you are in danger, then all of us are in danger as well. It is imperative that you explain everything to me." Finn heaved a heavy sigh and conveyed all of the information to her, including the patient, the threats, and the impending danger that appeared to increase with each passing day. As Steffy listened, the rage that she had initially felt transformed into a chilly and calculated determination. This was not something that she was going to take a back seat and let happen. No one tried to threaten her family and was successful in doing so. Steffy stated, "We need to go to the police," after Finn had completed his sentence. Finn, however, gave a head shake. "I must not. In the event that we involve the authorities, Marcus cautioned me that they will pursue us with even greater vigor. This is something that we are responsible for handling on our own." In spite of the fact that Steffy was not one to back down from a challenge, she was also not irresponsible. She was aware that they required assistance. While Finn was concentrating on safeguarding his patient, Steffy was concentrating on safeguarding her family, and she was aware of exactly who she could turn to for assistance. A man named Bill Spencer, who has his own history of nefarious deals and connections, has now entered the picture. Steffy was aware that Bill was powerful and ruthless enough to deal with any danger that was hovering over them, despite the fact that their history together was fraught with complications. When Steffy finally reached Bill at his office, she addressed him with a voice that was calm but urgent. "Bill, I need your help," she said. Bill showed his interest by raising an eyebrow. "What kind of help are we talking about, Steffy?" Steffy detailed the situation in great detail, including no omissions. Bill's attitude had changed from one of interest to one of grim determination by the time she had finished before she continued. As he leaned back in his chair, he remarked in a straightforward manner, "I'll handle it. But the outcome won't be pretty. These individuals do not adhere to the established norms." Steffy indicated with a nod, "Just do whatever you have to do." During the time that Bill was working behind the scenes, Finn was making an effort to maintain his appearance record at the hospital. However, it wasn't long before his worst premonition turned out to be a reality. After a long day at work, Finn went out of the hospital one evening to discover a gathering of men waiting for him. They were all anticipating his arrival. They did not utter a single word as they approached, and it was evident from the malicious look in their eyes that they intended to strike. In the moment when Finn understood there was no way out, his heart began to race. He was utterly encircled. After making a swift movement, the men grabbed Finn, and dragged him into an alley that was nearby. As they cautioned him to stay away from Marcus Vallo, they did not bother to be discreet and instead delivered severe punches with their fists from a distance. One of the guys growled at Finn, "This is just a taste of what's to come if you don't back off," before leaving him wounded and gasping for air on the ground. Finn was left injured and gasping for air. After Finn had finally arrived at his house that evening, Steffy's dread was immediately apparent as soon as she laid eyes on him. His spirit was rattled, his face was made of bruises, and his garments were torn ragged. "They're not going to stop, Steffy," Finn muttered, scarcely raising his voice above a whisper that was barely audible. "They're going to come after all of us." Steffy was not going to allow anyone to undermine her family, and the fact that Finn was acting in such a manner only served to deepen her determination. She was aware that they could not wait any longer. They needed to take action, and it needed to be done as quickly as possible. Steffy organized a strategy to get ahead of the criminals who were threatening their life, and she did so with the assistance of Bill's resources and contacts. It was always the case that she was a strategist in the fashion industry. However, now she needed to use her skills to a game that was significantly more deadly. During the time that Bill was searching for Marcus's adversaries, Steffy was working to make sure that her children were secure, so that they could get away from the mayhem that was taking place in Los Angeles. She arranged for them to stay with her mother, Taylor. Even though Steffy wanted to maintain her distance from Finn, she was aware that she could not abandon him to deal with this situation on his own. "I'm not going anywhere," she informed Finn as he attempted to persuade her to leave. "I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together."